I'm April Plank, and this is a beginner reformer workout. You do not need any equipment, just your reformer. I'm going to start off on 3 red springs. For me, those are 3 heavy springs on the balanced body equipment. Let's go ahead and lay down and get started. So I want you just to bring your hands or bring your shoulders a little bit away from the shoulder blocks so you've got some room here. We're going to reach the arms down to the sides. Your feet are just going to be resting on the platform about sits bones distance apart. Now take your hands to your hip bones. So the palms of the hands are on the hip bones. Your fingers are on your pubic bone and your thumbs are drawing a line together. So you have this triangle that you're holding. And if you take a peek at that triangle, it should be level with the ground, parallel to the floor. So you don't want the fingers too high and you don't want the thumbs too high. So this is what is called neutral pelvis, where we have our pelvic in a very natural position. If you took your hands kind of underneath your back, you might feel a little space. Everyone's lumbar curve is a little bit different. So you might be able to take your hand there and there's a little bit of space there. That's pretty natural. You don't want to be kind of jamming your back into the mat. So you have a little natural space. So those hands are in that neutral position on your pubic bone. And then we're going to take a nice inhale and a nice exhale. Just holding and maintaining that neutral pelvis. And neutral pelvis is really the most effective way to work. So when we're working on our, any pretty much exercise that we're working in neutral, that's going to put our abs in a great position to be most effective. So we're going to do something different than neutral, which is called imprint. So with imprint, I want you to let your hip bones lower and your pubic bone lift, which means now if you look towards your fingers are higher than your thumbs. So that is called an imprint position. This is also a safe place to work. It's just a little easier to work. Your abs are not having to work as hard in this position. So it's not as effective, but is also a really good modification if you're a beginner. So if things get too hard, you can work in this imprint. And then let's go back to neutral, so you can feel neutral. And then let's go back to imprint. Good, do that a few more times using your breath. So I like to inhale to neutral. And then exhale to imprint. And this will be kind of the theme of the class today, is talking about this neutral position. We're going to try to stay neutral as we change our body from one position to the next. Good. Do one more of the rounds. So go one more into neutral. And then one more into imprint. And then we'll go back into neutral and hold it. So now the key is to hold this neutral position. Might be pretty easy to hold it with your limbs on the floor, but now we're going to start to lift some limbs and see what happens. So let's bring the right leg to tabletop, and then I want you to bring the left leg to tabletop. Now, are you able to maintain that neutral? If you feel any discomfort in your back, or if this is too much of a strain, remember you can go into imprint. Imprint is a little bit of a modification. So we're going to hold this position, take your right toe and tap it down towards the floor and bring it back up. Take your left toe and tap it down to the floor and bring it back up. So now we're starting to move our limbs without moving our pelvis. So if you were to take one hand behind your back, you should have maybe a little bit of space. Again, everyone's different, so you might not have too much space at all. But what you don't want to have is a big gaping space. You don't want your thumbs higher than your fingers and you're arching your back. You're staying neutral, or if you need to, you're doing an imprint. One toe goes down, big exhale up. Other toe goes down, big exhale up. We'll do one more on each side. Good. And then pull your knees in. You will definitely do an imprint, and we're going to go into a nice stretch. So pull those knees into your chest and stretch. Good. Let's go back into the tabletop. Find your neutral. You can always use your hands as a guide when you're first starting out to make sure you're there. Now let's see if we can lift our head up and keep neutral. So take the arms up to the ceiling, take an inhale, look towards your knees, and then exhale as you lift your head, neck, and shoulders, look towards that belly. Did you find anything change here? Because what tends to happen is people curl and do a little imprint. So try to stay neutral, and let's lower the head and reach the arms back to the ceiling. Let's try that again. Look towards your knees. Exhale, lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Try to maintain that neutral. And then lower everything right back down. Good. And again, look towards the knees. Exhale, lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Reach those arms long. And then bring it back down. So a lot of times in my classes, keep moving. Inhale, look towards the knees. Exhale, lift up. If you've taken other classes, I always say keep the tailbone heavy, and that's what I mean. So you're not letting the tailbone lift, and you're not letting the knees come close to you and going into imprint. You're staying nice and neutral. And then release. You're going to have a lot more benefits and a lot more results in that position. Look towards your knees. Exhale, lift up. Nice and neutral through the pelvis. And then lower back down. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, look towards the knees. Exhale, lift the head, neck, and shoulders, maintaining that neutral pelvis. And then bring everything down. Pull the knees in and give yourself a stretch. Okay, let's come up. So I want to be focusing on that through the whole class. So let's go on to footwork. So the foot bar is going to come up. We're still on 3 reds. I didn't change anything there. So 3 heavy springs. And let's go ahead and lay down. So let's start with our heels on about sits bones distance apart. Remember, we're in that neutral pelvis, so you can use your hands as a guide today to see how it feels. So I've got my neutral pelvis, and sometimes if you've got your knees too close into you with your foot bar, you can't really do neutral. So make sure that your foot bar is in a position where you can hold in neutral. So you might have to move your foot bar away from you or down a little bit. So you're in that neutral pelvis. Take an inhale. We're going to go into our imprint, so let your fingers come up and your thumbs go down, and then start to roll your spine all the way up, 1 vertebrae at a time into a bridge. Again, you can keep the hands here. Take an inhale at the top, and then really 1 vertebrae at a time. You keep your fingers high, you tuck your tailbone, you roll yourself down, your thumbs go down, you roll through your imprint, and then you go back into neutral. Let's go again. You're going to tuck your tailbone, scoop your abdominals, roll yourself up 1 vertebrae at a time, coming up into that bridge, and then you'll start to scoop. So keep your hips high, high, high as you roll down through your body into imprint and back to neutral. And again, imprint first, scoop and roll up, going to the top, and then slowly, like a string of pearls, melting your spine down all the way through your imprint and back to neutral. Let's hold the next one up. So we're going to tuck and scoop, roll it all the way up, and hold. I'm going to keep my hands here as a reference because I want you to take your right leg and lift it. When you lifted that leg, nothing should have happened through the pelvis. It should stay nice and still. What tends to happen is that right hip's going to drop. So can you keep it up? It's a lot of work here on keeping your stability. Now step that right foot down. Let's put the weight in the right leg and lift the left leg. Can you keep your pelvis still? And then bring that leg down. Let's keep switching side to side, so just a little bit of marching. Good, and if you're having a hard time with this, it's not an easy concept. This is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of strength. So right now, if you're just starting, you're just noticing, like, hey, my hip does lower down. And that's okay. You're just creating some awareness as to what's going on in your body. And then as you get stronger and you continue to do this work, you're going to find, like, hey, my hips stay square. And that's a great thing. So just give yourself some time. I always like to say fitness is a journey, not a destination. So we're kind of enjoying every step of the way. The more we can make this part of our daily life, the more benefits we're going to get out of it. Good. Just little marches side to side, staying as still and stable through your pelvis as you can. Good. Do 1 more on the left. And then set that leg down. Let's roll your spine down 1 vertebrae at a time through your imprint and back to neutral. Good. And I want you to maintain neutral. So again, that tailbone is heavy. You have a straight line from The fingers and the thumbs are in the same plane. We're going to push the carriage all the way out, resist, and pull it in. Big inhale to push, big exhale to come back in. Now you don't have to keep your hands here. I'm just keeping them here as a guide today. If you feel comfortable and confident that you're maintaining neutral, you can surely take your hands down to your sides. Sometimes I think it's good to use your hands and kind of palpate your body. Sometimes it's just really hard to know where you are in space without using your hands to help. So this is definitely a little assistant. Three, and two, and one. Now come halfway in and give me tiny little pulses, 1 inch down, 1 inch up. Three, two, and one. Go all the way out and bring it right back in. Good, come to the balls of the feet, lift the heels, and let's go out again. So we're going to inhale, go out, and then pull it right back in. And if you remember our breath from our other beginner class, we're thinking about expanding the ribs to the sides of the room and then pulling the ribs back in. So your breath is almost like an accordion. You're opening the rib cage and you're squeezing the rib cage closed. Last two. Hold your next one out. We're going to lower the heels down and lift the heels back up. Lower the heels down and lift the heels up. Last three, and two, and one. Lift the heels high, pull the carriage in. Last position, you're going to zip your heels together, let your knees go wide. This is a little harder to maintain. It's very easy to fall into imprint in this position. So drop your tailbone, find that neutral pelvis, and then squeeze the legs together, peel the legs apart. Squeeze them together and peel apart. One more. Inhale as you go out and exhale as you come in. Good. Let's pull the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little hug. Roll all the way off the machine and let's change our weight. So we're going to go to some single leg work. I like to do this on 2 reds and 1 yellow so that are 2 heavy and 1 light. And then let's lay back down. Okay, so for this class, you're going to have the ball of your right foot on the bar. Your left leg is in tabletop. And again, you've got that neutral pelvis. We're going to inhale as you take the carriage all the way out and pull it right back in. Now, in our last beginner class, we kept this left leg in tabletop. Today, we're going to see if we can move this leg a little bit without changing the structure of the pelvis. And if you feel like you're changing it and it doesn't feel like it's working for you, you can always stay in tabletop. So the next time you come in, shoot your left leg long over the foot bar, pull it back to tabletop. So we're just adding a little bit of movement with the left leg, pressing it over the foot bar, pulling it back in. Three, and two. Now keep the leg long. When you go out again, you kick it up and then you kick it back down. Don't kick it so high that you're rocking it into imprint. So just cut up as high as you can, keeping your tailbone down. Two more. Hold your next one out there. Let's go ahead and drop the right heel down so you get a little stretch. So we're going to maintain this neutral. In the last class, we bent the knee and we did little knee circles. This time, we're going to try to straighten the leg and do leg circles. So you're going to circle to the right, down, out to the left, and back up. You notice that if you were really trying to maintain neutral, there's no way this circle can be huge. So do not make this circle massively big and rock your hips all over the place. The goal is stability through the pelvis as you move the leg. The goal isn't super duper big circle. That's not the goal. The goal is stability. And if your hamstrings are tight, you're going to go back to the knee bend and do the leg stirs with the knee bent. Good. 3 and 2. And then 1 more, and we're going to reverse the direction. So we're going to go out and around and up. As I said before, this is one of those exercises that the more years I practice, the harder it gets, because with the goal of stability through the pelvis, it's very hard to hold it. It's very easy to let that leg just do a big circle without awareness. Very hard to do a little circle with control. Good. 2 and 1. Nice job. Okay, let's send that left leg down. Pull the knees in, coming into your bumper. Right leg in tabletop. Drop the tailbone, neutral pelvis. Let's push all the way out and back in. And I don't know about you, but when I really focus on maintaining neutral, when I really focus on my form, things are so much harder, but so much more effective. So it's easy just to go through the workout and think of your to-do list and not really be present. It's one other thing to kind of go through the workout and completely tune into what's happening. Get a lot more results that way for sure. Do 2 more out and in. Now let's keep this stability through the pelvis as you send your right leg long when you come in, back to tabletop. Reach it long and back to tabletop. Two. Now keep the leg long. Remember, we're going to kick it up, but keep your tailbone heavy, and then bring it back down. Big kick up, big kick down. Think of moving through molasses, so that leg isn't flinging, it's controlled. 2. Hold the next one out. Let's drop the left heel for a little passive stretch. So we're going to keep that pelvic area still. So we're going to stay neutral through the pelvis. Circle the right leg towards the right, down towards the kind of, if there was a clock, sorry, on the ceiling, you would circle over to 3, down to 6, over to 9, and up to 12. And there's no cheating when you've got your hands here, because you'll feel the movement. So even if this circle is a millimeter, that's better than a big circle with a lot of movement. And I'm building up some heat in the core, so I'm starting to sweat here, really focusing on my form. We'll do 2 more in this direction. And then I want you to switch the direction. So go left, down, right, and up. So we're going 9, 6, 3, and 12. If there was a clock on the circle, it doesn't have to be a big clock, it could be a super tiny clock. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Set that leg down, pull the carriage in, bring your knees into the chest. Okay, let's roll up and change the weight again. That was good. Okay. 1 red spring, 1 blue spring. That's 1 heavy, 1 medium. And we're going to get ready for some mid-back work. So let's lay down onto your back. On this exercise, you want to have some space between the shoulders and your shoulder blocks. So pick up your straps, bring your arms to the ceiling. So your fingers are reaching up to the ceiling, shoulders in line with your wrist. Bring your legs up into tabletop and find your neutral. So again, imprint is a safe position to be in, but as we get stronger, we want to strive for that imprint. So whichever is feeling good for you today, hold that. Big exhale as you pull the arms down. Inhale as the arms go back up. In the last class, we held our legs in tabletop the whole time. In this class, we're going to start to add some movement with the legs. Only if you can maintain that neutral pelvis. So if you start to feel like you're rocking and rolling too much through the body, take the legs out. Good. Now the next time the arms pull to the sides, take your right leg and reach it long, and then bring it back into table when the arms go up. And then the left leg will go long when the arms come down, back to table when the arms go up. So we're just challenging our core stability by taking the limbs farther away from the body. So when one leg goes away, you have to balance and find that stability in a harder position. Good. One more of right and one more left. Good. Now take the arms down to the sides and hold them. We're going to go into a tricep. I want you to bend your elbows and straighten your elbows. If you had an okay time with those legs extending one at a time, we're going to try to do two at a time. It's going to be even more challenging. So I'm going to bend the arms. When I straighten the arms, I'm going to straighten both legs. And when I bend the arms, I'm going to bend both knees. Now, if that was too much, go back to alternating one leg at a time. This is not an easy thing to do. Good. I tend to add more advanced things into my beginner classes to challenge you a little bit, but just know your body and know if it's not right for you, you do not need to go there. So you can just keep your legs in table for 3 and 2 and 1. Good. Hold here. Take the arms to the ceiling. Take the arms out to a T. So we're going to hold the arms in the T. This time, let's keep our legs in tabletop to give a little rest. We're going to pull the arms down to the hips. Inhale the arms right back out to a T. Big exhale down to the hips. Inhale back out to the T. Now, if you want to try something with the legs, instead of tabletop, take your right leg and reach it long and hold it. So now we're going to be working a little more endurance on holding the leg out. Let's try it for 3 and 2 and 1. We've got to do the other side. Bring that right leg in. Take your left leg out and hold it. 3 and 2 and 1. Bring that leg in. Take the arms up to the ceiling. We're going to pull the arms straight down to your sides. Go out to a T. Bring them right up to the ceiling without moving. Exhale, pull the arms down, out to a T, back to the ceiling. Good. Are you still in your neutral? If you are feeling like you need a break, pull the knees a little closer, come into your imprint, especially if you feel your back taking the work. Sometimes when our abs are a little weaker, our back has to work more, and it cannot feel comfortable. So don't feel like you need to do this all at once. You can take a break. Now up to the ceiling and pause. Let's go out to a T, down to the hips, up to the ceiling. Out to a T, down to the hips, up to the ceiling. Good. 3 more. And 2. And 1. Nice job. Let's set the feet down, put the straps down, pull your knees into the chest, and just give yourself a little rock side to side. Good. And then we're going to rock all the way off the machine and make a few changes. Okay, let's put the foot bar down. And let's move to 1 blue. So I've got 1 blue spring on, and that's it. So we're going to face the the tower or your shoulder blocks and come to your hands and knees. So we're changing body positions, but your alignment is the same. Your hips are square. If you have those palms on the hip bones and your fingers on the pubic bone, they'd be in the same line. So just take a second, kind of let your belly arch, and that doesn't feel too good. So that's where you're coming into what's called an anterior tilt. You're letting your belly release down, your low back's getting all crunchy, it doesn't feel good. And then you're gonna round your back. And this is a safe position for your back, but it's not really good for your shoulders. So we're rounded and scooped, and this isn't gonna feel really good when we start using the arms. So come to that neutral position where you have a straight line from the crown of the head all the way to the tailbone. So this is the best place to work, and now we're ready to do our arm work. So take the right hand and grab the strap, bring it a little bit out to the side. Now your left elbow is a little bit bent, and we're gonna take a big inhale, exhale, pull the right arm all the way to the hip, and then bring it right back down to the side. This is where a mirror might be handy too if you don't have someone with you to kind of talk about your alignment. If you had a mirror handy, you could kind of look to see, are my shoulders lined up? Are my hips lined up? Do I have a straight line from the crown of the head to the tailbone? Sometimes for me, when I watch my videos, I realize, oh wait, my form wasn't the best there. So it's a really good tool. And you might even want to videotape yourself once you are comfortable. If you don't have a mirror, you just want to kind of see. It really is a great teaching tool to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. Now, when the arm is back the next time, let's stay there and go into your triceps. So I want you to bend your elbow, push and press it straight. Bend it in, push and press it straight. Three, 2, and 1. Good job. Okay, let's set the hand down. Stay right here in your neutral pelvis, and then we're going to take the left leg and reach it back behind you. Now make sure your hips didn't rotate to the side. So if you had a straight line from hip bone to hip bone, it would be straight pointing to the floor. Now take your right hand and reach it in front of you. So you're finding that straight line from the fingers to the toes. And we're just going to hold here using our core to balance. Little bend in your left elbow. You're reaching from fingertip all the way to your toes. For 3, and 2, and 1. Take the hand down, take the leg down, and push into a little resting pose. From here, we're going to kneel facing the right side. So we did this in the last video seated in a mermaid. So certainly if you don't feel comfortable kneeling, the mermaid is a great option, but we're gonna make it just a little bit more intense and show you the same exercises in a different body position. The closer I am to the shoulder blocks, the easier. I'm gonna go in the middle. So the farther I am from the shoulder blocks, the harder. Pick up the strap with your left hand and then glue your left elbow very close to your left rib cage. We're going into this internal-external rotation. So I'm going to stack my spine, reach up through the crown of the head. Big exhale as you rotate your left arm in and then rotate it out. So you're trying to keep your elbow just about an inch or so away from your rib cage, and you're rotating your forearm. Now I'm doing this kneeling today because it's a little bit of a more challenging position to stay in. If it doesn't feel good on your knees to kneel though, then please do the seated exercise. But I just want you to see the difference from the first beginner class we did to this beginner class, and how just changing your body position can change a lot. Good. Last 2. And 1 more. Good. Now this time the elbow's going to lift up. You're going to have your palm down. We're going into that little rock-a-baby. So we're going to rock the arm in and then rock the elbow out. So you're doing this little Viking ship in and out. Good. Now you're still in this kneeling position, maintaining that neutral pelvis. So notice if you're letting your tailbone kind of lift up and you're arching your back, doesn't feel good at all. So you're kind of dropping your tail underneath you, pulling those abs in, and you've got your pubic bone and your hip bones on the straight plane. Last two, and last one. Good, 2 more exercises to go. We'll take that arm up, and the right arm will come up to mirror it. So it's like you're holding this big beach ball. Take an inhale, start your exhale, and then pull your fingers together. Inhale as you open, exhale, pull the fingers together. Good, 3, and 2, and 1. Nice job. Okay, last one in this series, the right hand will grab the strap. You're gonna bring the palm kind of by your belly button. Keep the right elbow close to your rib cage and then externally rotate it. This one's probably the most challenging of the exercises, mainly because now the strap is having to be pulled longer. So if it's too much, your first option would be to slide closer to the shoulder blocks. And pretty much in any exercise, positioning on the carriage is going to make things easier or harder. So if you could just slide your body a little closer, gives you a few more inches, makes it a little easier. Good. Same thing if you want to make it harder, just slide farther away from the shoulder blocks. Last 2, last 1. Good job. Okay, let's put that strap away. We're going to sit facing the foot bar now in a seated position. Now, here's the thing. If you can sit and your spine is long, this is where that mirror comes in handy, then it's perfectly fine to sit here. If your hips are pretty tight and when you sit, you can't get your chest lifted and you're round, it's not going to be a very good position to be doing arm work in. So if that's the case, then I will give you an option. If you're okay to be on your knees, you may feel more comfortable in this kneeling position. Just make sure your back is straight. Or you might want to put a block or something on the carriage that you can sit on top of to elevate your hips. So the key here is your spine needs to be strong and long before you can do your arm work. So let's pick up your straps. So hopefully you've got your back in a good position. You're going to turn your palms to face down and you're going to lift your sternum up. Now we're going to take those hands and just slide them out imaginary table and then pull them right back in. This is called the Sphinx. Big exhale as you pull forward and then pull the elbows right back in. Now pretty much we did do some unilateral work on the other side. But we're doing mainly bilateral work, which means both sides are working. In a second, I want you to go back to some unilateral work. All that means is one arm is working at a time, and just see what happens. So I want you just to push your right arm only. So your right arm's going to go only, and then back, and now just try your left arm only. Good. Now you may feel that when you're doing one side at a time, you feel the abs. You might not feel, that's okay, but what happens is when you're doing one side at a time, your body has to stabilize first before it can move. So it's a lot more abdominals to do single arm. And it's really good to do single arm because one side is usually stronger than the other, and that will help to even out any imbalances you might have. Do one more on each side. Good, and then we'll come home. Now turn the palms up and we'll go into our offering. So we're gonna reach the arms more of an arcing position up to shoulder height and then bring them back down. So it's a big exhale to come up and inhale back down. Let's try that unilateral again, just 2 more bilateral, or bilateral, yeah. And then we'll do unilateral. So right arm only, big exhale. Just notice how your abs feel. If you feel like you're having to prevent any kind of twisting, which is really what it is. Your body's wanting to twist since it's being weighted from one side, and your abs have to prevent that from happening. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that thinks that's exciting. Good. Last one on each side. Nice job. Now let's take the arms out to the side like you're holding this big beach ball, and we're going to bring the fingers to touch in front of us and then bring it right back out. Good. Now make sure when you're going forward that you're not rounding your body forward. You're keeping your chest lifted and just the arms are going forward. 2 more to go. And 1 more. Good job. Okay, we're going to put that left strap away. If you did your side work on your kneeling, we're going to go kneeling. If you did it in mermaid, you're going to go to mermaid. So if you're in mermaid to the right, your right shin is up against the shoulder block. If you're kneeling, remember you're kneeling anywhere on the carriage. Closer to the shoulder blocks is easier. Closer to the foot bar is harder. Glue your right elbow about 1 inch from your rib cage, and you're going to do an internal rotation and then back. Good. So no matter what position we're in, we're trying to create a straight line through the spine. And really straight means neutral. So it's definitely, you don't have a straight line in the spine. You definitely have curves, but you're trying to maintain that neutral position as best you can. Last 2. And 1 more. Good. Let's rock the baby. So we're going to put the elbow out wide. And you're going to do that little Viking ship with the palm facing up. We're going to let the elbow go open and then pull the arm across. Good. Make sure you're in neutral pelvis. You may have to kind of drop your tail a little bit so you're not compressing through your low back. 2 more. And last 1. And then we'll take the strap up to shoulder height. Bring your left arm up to meet. So we're mirroring, and we're going to pull the fingers together and then release it out. So this may be another challenging one where you want to scoot closer to the shoulder blocks. Again, we're working on quality of motion. So if it's labored and too intense, you're not going to get much out of it. So go to a place where you can successfully do the exercise. 2 more. Last 1. Good job. Okay, last exercise here. Your left hand grabs the strap. I am going to just automatically, because I know this is my weaker arm and it was hard on the other side, so I'm going to scoot closer to the shoulder blocks. Bring your your left hand by your belly button, and we're going to externally rotate. So the palm faces into the belly button, and then you rotate it open. You have just about 1 inch space between your left elbow and your left rib cage. Your wrist is staying nice and long, and you're just hinging that door open and closed. Two more to go. And last 1. Nice job. All right, let's come back to our hands and knees facing the tower. So you're going to slide back a little bit, hands on the shoulder blocks, knees on the carriage. Remember, we're not arching the back and coming to that anterior tilt with your belly out, and you're not rounding the back. So we're going to find that nice neutral position, straight line from the crown of the head to the tailbone, and now pick up your left strap. Little bend in your right elbow. Your left arm's going to pull all the way back to the hip and then down towards the floor. Big exhale to pull. Again, this is one of those unilateral exercises, so you might feel more core working here. Good. 2 more to go. Last one here. Now tricep. I want you to bend your elbow, push and press it straight. Make sure your right elbow is slightly bent. I like my elbow facing my leg, backwards instead of out to the side. That's going to help keep your shoulder in a good position. 2 more to go. And last one. Nice job. Let's put that strap away. Take your right leg and reach it back behind you. Make sure you're not letting the hips open. You've got that straight line, square pelvis. Reach the left arm in front of you, so you have a straight line from the left fingers to the right toes. We're going to work the abdominals and hold it. Big breaths in and out for 3 and 2 and 1. Take the hand down, take the leg down, press into your little resting pose. All right, we have almost made it. One more thing before we put our feet in straps. We're going to do a little reverse knee stretch, and it's going to be working on neutral pelvis to imprint. So you want to come up to tabletop. So I like my feet hanging off the springs. I've got my knees about hips distance apart. You're going to reach forward, and your hands are going to be pretty far forward, so they're not in line with the shoulders yet. So I'm pretty extended from my shoulder. What I'm going to do is pull the carriage forward until my shoulders are in line with my wrists. Now, if this is too hard to hold, drop your weight. I'm currently still on a blue spring. Reach from the crown of the head to the tailbone. You're in a neutral pelvis. I want you to go into that imprint. So pull your abs in, like your back is going to scoop in, and we're going to draw the ribs and hips closer towards each other. And then take it back to neutral, letting your tailbone go to the back of the room. And again, you're going to scoop those abs in, do that tuck and scoop, and then back to neutral. This is one of those exercises that the slower you go, the more effective. I am shaking, and then back to neutral. Big exhale as you tuck and scoop. Back to neutral. Keep those shoulders away from your ears. Keep using your lats, so it's like those underneath the armpits you're activating. Not a big movement. We're just isolating it to the spine. Tucking and scooping to what's called a posterior tilt, and then back to neutral. Tuck and scoop, and back to neutral. Let's do one more. And back to neutral. Come back and rest. Nice work. That is probably one of my favorite ones. I know I have a lot of favorite ones. Okay, let's put our feet in straps and finish this workout. So you're going to take your foot bar all the way up. We're going to go on one red spring, one blue spring, and then lie all the way down. Let's go ahead and push the carriage out and put one foot at a time into the straps. And then press those legs nice and long to the opposite side of the room. So remember, you've got that neutral pelvis. So keep your pubic bone and your hip bones on the same plane as you bend your knees in, push and press them away. So you can't go too far with the knees if your goal is maintaining neutral pelvis. And if you watched any of my other videos, I like to bring my knees in, but I'm not really maintaining neutral pelvis. I'm using it as more of a stretch. So I'm going in, giving my back a stretch, going to imprint, and coming back out. But just because we're talking about neutral pelvis, we're learning neutral pelvis, we're focusing on that through this workout, we're going to limit the range of motion and maintain neutral. There's benefits to both neutral, which is going to work on stability, and going into imprint, which is more of a stretch. Do one more. Good. Now separate your toes, heels together, toes apart. Froggy, back in. Push it out. Neutral is more of the traditional way of doing Pilates. So you're learning that littler range of motion, keeping everything still from the head to the tailbone. Not that one is wrong and one is right. They're just different. As long as you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's okay to move your body in different ways. Your body's designed to move. 2 more. 1 more. Good. Toes together. Lift the legs up. We're going to circle the legs down, go out and around and up. Circling down and out and around and up. So certainly if you want to take a few of these, and don't worry about neutral pelvis. So if I'm going to do some of these and not really focus on neutral and kind of rock and roll through my pelvis, you can see I can get a lot bigger circles, and that's working more flexibility. I'm not really working on maintaining my neutral pelvis. I'm just working on range of motion and stretching. But for today's class, just so you can learn neutral pelvis, we're working on smaller range of motion and neutral. This is going to work the core more, whereas the bigger circles are just going to work stretching and range of motion more. Last one here, and then we're going to reverse the direction. So I'll start with my little circles. And I can tell you, I feel like I'm sweating more when I'm doing the smaller ones, because really I'm having to work so much more intensely through my core to maintain stability, and my focus is more intense, that I'm building up a lot of heat, which is good. Hopefully you are too. Last 3. And last 2. And last 1. Good. Pull the knees into the chest. Now you can go into that big imprint, giving those knees a big hug. And then let your knees go wide into a butterfly. Pull those straps towards you. Can kind of rock the knees side to side. Give that back a massage. Take the legs straight up and give those straps a big pull, stretching your hamstrings. And then one foot can come out into the foot bar, and then the other foot can come out into the foot bar. And we're going to roll all the way up and go into a lunge stretch. So you're going to come to one red spring, right knee onto the carriage, and we're going to push all the way back. Now make sure that you just don't lose that, everything we've been talking about, the neutral pelvis, and just let your hold back kind of flop forward into an anterior tilt. So keep that abdominals active as you push back. It's going to give you a bigger stretch. It's also going to protect your back and keep your back long. So it's kind of like you're trying to tuck. And then we'll come all the way up. Slide the knee back where the foot was. And we'll go again, still maintaining that tuck and scoop, pulling the abs in for a deeper stretch. Okay, I'm going to take the long way around today. Just kind of walk it out, and we'll do the other side. So your right foot's on the floor, left knee on the carriage, pull those abs in, and then bend the right leg to push back. Little soft elbow, so you're never kind of locking out your joints either. Take a little soft bend at the elbow. And then let's come up. Second one, the knee will go back. Pull those abdominals in first and then press it back. And then we'll come all the way up. And then go ahead and just stand with your feet about hips distance apart. We're going to reach the arms up to the ceiling. Interlace your thumbs and press the fingers up. Tuck your tail slightly so you're lengthening, and then we're just going to lean a little to the right. And then back to the center. Lean a little bit to the left and back to the center. One more on each side. I just felt I needed a little bit of lateral work. We didn't do a ton of lateral work today, so just a little bit of mobility side to side. Let's do one more, just because 3 is the magic number. Side to side. And one more. And then release the arms down to the sides. Now we're done. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the workout. Have a great day. See you soon.